All right, we might get started with our next session. I don't want to run over time, so if you don't mind taking your seats, that would be great. So for the last session of the day, thank you to everyone that's sticking around. We have neo-compliance, which is making compliance easy and trustworthy. We've heard a lot about neobanks and from neobanks over the course of this conference, but now we have neo-compliance. And compliance is a necessary, some see a necessary evil, but it's a necessary in any banking environment. And in this session, we're going to hear from OneTrust, a 5-year-old scale-up now valued at over $5 billion and a global leader in privacy, security, and governance software. OneTrust will take you through their model of neo-compliance, which makes this necessary work simple and straightforward, while enhancing your customer service and increasing mutual trust. Presenting our very last session for today and for the conference, we have Rob Rowe. Rob is a Managing Director of OneTrust for Asia Pacific and Japan. Thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks, everyone. So, folks, you're like the supporters that stayed on. You're 5 goals down with 10 minutes to go. All the Collingwood supporters have left, right? And you stayed there, and we're going to get across the line because this is just going to be the best presentation of the whole session, like I can just tell you right now. All right, let's get started. It's going to be audience participation. Get out your phones. Bring up a browser. Come on. This is not the worst time slot I've ever had, by the way. 3-day conference. They asked me at the last minute to run a panel 5 p.m. on the 3rd day, and it was a Friday. And people turned up. I did it Jerry Springer style. So get it all out, just scan that in. No, we're not showing, Matt, back to the slides, please. Back to the slides. Back to the slides. So you've brought that up. First question. Why'd that go backwards? Let's go forwards, please. First question. What best describes your organisation's mission, all right, or differentiator, or whatever it is? And you could be a startup, a scale-up, or someone established out there. You could be AWS. You could be Ubank. You could be someone like that. What best describes? Matt, bring us up the answers. So, thanks for responding, by the way. Better functionality, customer service, customer trust. No one's going for the low cost, high value. Disruptive technology, disruptive product, other, right? Customer trust. We've got a late runner here. We just kicked 3 goals, 2 to go. So interesting that that's the response. Let's go to the next question. Back to let's just hide this for a bit, thank you. Wonderful, Matt. Next question. How many social communication apps do you have on your devices? Right? Hang on, I've got to go to the next slide. I've got to do that, don't I? Why is this going backwards, Matt? So we're going to talk about trust, so I'm glad that's the big winner. How many social apps do you have? Bring up the answers, Matt. I've worked out the clicker. It's all right. My fault. User error. 40% have 5 or more. 40% have 5 or more. Next question. Do you trust them? How trustworthy are social/media/communication platforms out there? How trustworthy? 100%, they have our best interests at heart. 0, only in it for themselves. In it coming the results. All right, Matt, thanks for scrolling it over. We don't think they're very trustworthy. We don't think they're trustworthy at all. Next, last question of this batch. What about other companies, established companies, financial services, insurance, telcos, retail? Of course, not Fintech themselves, right? Remember we said for the social media apps, the majority was down the bottom. Interesting audience response to this one. Matt, bring it across. Slightly better, but still down the bottom, right? At an event, Privacy Data Protection conference last week, they actually gave them a higher rating, all right? Back to the slides, thanks. Back to the slides. All right. Out of the Office of the Australian Information Commission, they have done some longitudinal research down the bottom. Social media industry, 70% are untrustworthy, somewhat or very untrustworthy. Then we go up into the search engines, then we start going up into the different types of industry. Up there is health services as the most trustworthy. Does anyone know what industry in Australia has the most notifiable data breaches? Health services, right? But we still trust them. Longitudinal, trust is going down, right? Since 2007, trust is going down. That's good news probably for fintechs if that was what your strategy is and your mission statement. So you are all about trust. So let's talk about that. We learned a lot last year. We learned a lot about trust. Who do we trust? Well, we don't trust each other. And the states don't trust each other, right? And this article was last year. Who should get the vaccine first when it comes? Third world countries or the rich? Well, guess what? Australia, according to their years, is a third world country because the rich ones are all hogging it, and they stopped vaccines coming to Australia. Who do we trust? What about Facebook? You know, they had this breach a couple of years ago, but now the data's getting out there. What are they doing about it? So Facebook tried to launch cryptocurrency. Do we trust it? I haven't heard a lot about it lately. Facebook tried to launch a dating app. Would you trust Facebook with a dating app? All right? You know, I don't use dating apps. I promise my wife. But Bumble is one of the leading dating apps. Why? Founded, run by a woman, putting the right people in charge, not the men. So I'm told. Here's a way to build trust. I subscribe to the New York Times. I used to get a daily update on email saying, here's the articles you should read. They sent me an email that said, Rob, you're not reading them. We're clogging up your email. We're going to take you off our subscriber list. What marketing group ever took anyone off their subscriber list? Right? I was telling a friend about this. He said the same thing happened to him with 2XU. That's building trust with me. I actually said to New York Times, no, keep me on, subscribe me. Then a few months later, they said, no, Rob, you're still not opening them. You're off the list, right? Not quite in those words. I'm a big fan of Spotify, of Discover Weekly, suggesting songs to me because why? They actually listen to what I listen to. It didn't occur until I thought about this, is they're listening to what I listen to. They know more about me than I thought. But I actually like it because they can suggest songs to me. I'm a Richmond supporter. I was on their website when they announced their AFLW scheme to actually become a foundation member for my wife and my daughter wanted to. I got a phone call the next day and that was the voice message. They are tracking me on the website and then rang me and told me about it. Luckily, it's the Richmond Football Club, so I trust them, but a little bit creepy. I then applied this to banks. What if the bank did this to me? What we're talking about with trust is this is what we want. And we heard this from 86400. You know, I don't know what we spend on dining out and what we do this and what we do that. So how can you help me? And now it's a trusted bank. I got this about a month ago. Someone started spamming me. I went to opt out. They said, great, you can opt out. See all the mandatory fields? They don't get it. They just don't get it. So now it's a blocked email, not an opt-out, right? So what we're now seeing is the rise of apps like Say Mine. you can enter your login details. I'll scan the web and tell you where you're subscribed. And then they will send those people emails saying, do not, unsubscribe me. In privacy speak, this is called a data subject access right? So we now got customers here that are getting hit with this. But that's a free app. We're now seeing paid apps. People are paying to get their information back. So I'm going to see if we trust each other. Get out your phones again. Get out voting. All right. If you are on the left, you're into two teams. So this is the left-hand side. This is the right-hand side. All right. You're all smart people. You can work that out. Right. What you've got to do is decide the price of your product. The price of your product. Is it going to be $10 or $20? If you both go 20, you both make 200. If you both go 10, you both make 100. If you go 10 and they go 20, you make 300, they make 0. If you go 20 and they go 10, they make 300, you go 0. Got it? Yeah. All right, here we go. Put in your price, majority vote wins, and we're going to do 2 rounds. Are you going to go 10 or are you going to go 20? If there's a tie in the voting, then 20 it is. So let's get those votes in. Sorry. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I do this with first-year students at RMIT on user-centric design. Right? So you're going 10 or you're going 20. We need a few more votes in. Interesting so far. Remember, if it's a tie, then you've gone 20. Couple of more votes. All right, Matt, swing us across. Let's see what we did. The left-hand side, half of you trust them, half of you don't, so you've gone 20. The right-hand side, it's all about trust. You've gone 20, you both have got $200, congratulations. How much did you think about your mission statement when you were doing this? Maybe not. Let's go again. Let's hide this again. I'll go to the next vote. This is the last round. What's your product price going to be? 10 or 20? I can see you thinking about it this time. Strategies coming into it. What's our MVP? Anyone want to guess what I can see the results coming up here. Anyone want to guess? No, let's not go there. Bring it up, Matt. Bring it up. Look at this. Give yourselves a round of applause. 200 each. Well done. So I run this with teams and stuff like that, and the question I get when I'm running this is, so who are the other team? Are they our competition? Who are they? Right? And I go, I'm not telling you, you've got to work that out. You've got to think about that, right? But it's all about, are you going to collaborate or compete? Prisoner's dilemma, if you know it, and all that sort of stuff. You're one of the nicest audiences I've ever seen, so well done. Regulations and change. Regulations and change, right? So we're seeing a lot of change in the regulation going forward. I introduced myself to 2 gentlemen from APRA before, and I said we could help you out here. Under the Privacy Act in Australia, we're seeing a lot of change. So for you guys, the definition of what a personal data is they want to change it to relates to. That makes it much broader. Worry about whether it's generated or an inferred profile of people, and you're going to then have to give additional notification if you're going to use that. Small business exemption. 95% of companies in Australia are exempt because they fall into the small business. That will go away. Employees you'll have to worry about as well. That will go away. Political parties, they've got to vote on removing their exemption. I can't imagine the Pollies doing that, but we'll wait and see. And now we're starting to see things that are hitting AI, scraping of information, locations, monitoring and stuff like that. That's going away. In the tech world, we're seeing changes. Apple's leading the way, right? So Apple's leading the way with this, where they launched their credit card a couple of years ago, not capturing your behaviour, not doing consumption behaviour. They've now deprecated what they call third-party cookies, and they've also blocked apps from getting your device ID. So Instagram, you may see this pop up if you've gone to 14.5, right? You hit continue and it says, allow app not to track or allow app to track your data. Current allow rates in the US are running at 6%. You're shaking your head, you wouldn't let them do it, right? And so finally I get through that, and that's our new puppy, and that was my wife's basil plant recently. So Facebook, same thing popped up. I love what they're trying to say, how to use it, and that middle one, help Facebook be free of charge. I am not feeling sorry for Facebook's revenue right now. Right? Wikipedia maybe. Third-party cookies are being removed. Right? These are 7 companies. A telco in Australia, you can guess who. An airline in Australia, you probably can guess who. They drop all those cookies. That's where all your data is going today. With the deprecation of third-party cookies, that'll get stopped. If you are a MarTech company, your world is changing. If you're relying on this data, your world is changing. Regulations changing. So how can we help you? So we're seeing all this frontline business, and what we're seeing is, and we heard this from some of the earlier talks, where we got all these disparate systems. We were on a call with IDC going through the Asian market, and they said there's no such thing as a security strategy. It's individual things, and everything's falling through the holes. So we have a security system, a privacy system, a consent and ethics, third-party risk, etc. And each of these, what they're doing is sending out spreadsheets to these people to fill in. First line of business are now doing tick-the-box exercise because they're sick and tired of filling in these spreadsheets. So what we have to do is understand that all of this is integrated. We have to understand that we've got to get rid of these things, and then we can move forward. I'm not going to go through a demonstration of OneTrust. We can grab us after, you can reach out to us. But this is like a self-service portal. I want to bring on, a question around a processing activity, an asset, privacy by design, etc. An example of this is COVID tracing apps. Here's some COVID tracing apps around the world, right? In Australia, the Department of Health did a privacy impact assessment. It ran for 78 pages. Bom, bom, wrong answer. They came up with 19 recommendations. If I colour code the recommendations, they're from all the different disciplines. So the question is, if we want trust, if we want to respect people, if we as an organisation want to be trusted, how do we do it? Well, of course, you'd use our software. We've started in privacy, but we've launched into all of these, and it's a platform. It allows you to do a strategy for this. So what we found out is that all our customers are confused. So we actually have put together a trust blueprint. So the trust blueprint is people, processes, technology, and vendors. So the old people, process, technology type stuff, these are the layers that you need to think about. Across that, what we've put is, what are our policies, ethics, environmental, social governance? What's our data governance? What's our privacy management? What's our technology management? And what's our third party? And how are we storing all this information? So let me give you a quick example before I run out of time. Top right, what's our mission? What are we trying to do? So I've used the example, people respected, organisations trusted. From there, we can make decisions around what are our data ethics? Are we going to be transparent, accountable, fair? All right, what policies are we going to put in place, like privacy by design, privacy by default, and how are we going to capture this information in a data catalogue? That allows us to go into our assets and system. What frameworks are we going to use? What classifications are we going to use? Are we going to worry about ethical trading? Are we going to worry about modern slavery and these sorts of things? That allows us to move into understanding the processes that we're doing from a privacy point of view. What are we doing? What data are we collecting? Why are we collecting it? From whom? When are we doing it? And where are we storing it? What that then allows us to do is start getting into the design of the systems, the privacy by design approaches, etc., which then gets us into the technology. How do we implement this stuff? We can then get into how do we work with our customers. My examples I put up there earlier. How do we get preferences, etc. We're seeing a big increase across all of APJ in this space. What's the technology we want to use for that? And John Edwards is the Privacy Commissioner of New Zealand. At an AI roundtable I was with him, he said, I want to know, who do you think I am? If your AI is building a profile of me, who do you think it is? And why don't you help me make it better? Right? That's building trust, third-party management. So now we have all of these things. Every company is doing all of these things, whether they know it or not. Or they're doing it after the ransomware attack, or they're doing it when the regulator comes along. But there's a column missing. So those silos I talked about, all this data seems to head in there, and we've got a breach, and now what do we do? We've got a person saying, delete my data, now what do we got to do? So at OneTrust, we automatically organise all that information for you. The way we collect it, and then we pull it in. So we went one step further, and we created the Trust Blueprint to go deeper on that. And here it is here, and we've got some up the back here to hand out. But it's saying for each of these sections, you have to do this to comply, to become a trusted organisation. So we've got guides and steps and how these interface with each other. So if I scroll up into one of these, zoom in, we've got details on what do you have to do in each section, implementation guide, what are the inputs, what are the outputs, and what you'll see as you go through this, it feeds across to the other things. With that, I've got 5 minutes. I'll just quickly, I wanted to show some of the stuff that we're doing to help companies like yourself. And one of the things we find is you are, and we heard this on the stage earlier, where as a vendor, you get sent a security questionnaire, normally as a spreadsheet. And the questions they send you aren't quite the same as the questions from the next one. OneTrust now has 9,000 customers. That means we've received at least 9,000 spreadsheets. It's more than that because you get a security one, you get a financial stability one, you get a privacy one, you get a et cetera, et cetera. So what we've built out here is this exchange between business and vendors. And so from the business point of view, it's a pain in the ass because the vendors don't reply. From the vendor's point of view, why can't you just use the one set of questions? It'll never happen, right? So we build that out. So one of the things that we've created is what we call is the question response automation. So we ingest the spreadsheet questions coming in, and we have a question library, and we use AI, machine learning, and all these wonderful things to actually map. That question looks a hell of a lot like ISO 27001 standard, boom. Here's your answer with an 89% confidence level. We have over 200 customers in Japan. We get questionnaires in Japanese. We actually can ingest that into here, use the Japanese, and then say what's our response to that as well. In this vendor portal that we've built out, you can actually then have all your assessments pre-completed. And so now when they come in and they say, are you ISO, are you NIST, are you these sort of security standards, you can actually send those out to them. When you update it, you can update your base. Think of this as a peer-to-peer network that we're building out across the globe. So, and I won't go through, but here's all the steps that you go through in terms of that. This is OneTrust. Just to close on just a little bit, because I heard people talking about what advice and all that sort of stuff. OneTrust has been around 5 years. We've so far had up to Series C, we've raised $920 million US. That's a two-edged sword. Expectations go up every time. We have over 9,000 customers, 2,000 employees, and we're set up here. It's headquartered Atlanta, London. I run Asia Pac, and we're growing rather fast. Happy to answer any questions. This is by the way, our second scale up. The last one got sold for $1.5 billion. That's it from us. That's my contact details. You can go to onetrust.com. Happy to answer any questions. Hold that up, Blair. We got these to hand out if anyone wants those, and happy to answer any questions.
Was there anyone that had a question in the audience?
Was this the best presentation of the whole session?
It actually was the most interactive, so there you go.
And you're Barrack for Richmond, I'm sure. No?
Oh, we've got a question down the front.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, everyone. No
good?
drinks is very important. Who would you classify as your main customer base?
I got asked that out there, right? So it's everyone. It's anyone that have got a regulation compliance type need out there. So we're definitely into the banks. We've got major banks here. We've got neobanks here, right across Asia. We're actually implementing in Cambodia right now, one of the major banks in there. So definitely in the finance space, insurance space, but retail. I won't say who they are, but a large retailer in Australia that got fined $1 million for not handling their consent properly are using us. So right across the spectrum. We just picked up companies, I don't want to say their name, but ride-share companies in Southeast Asia, one in Indonesia that does motorbikes. You can probably work out who these folks are. So it's all over the place. It's all over the place. We do cookie consent, we do consent management, we do compliance, we do all that sort of stuff. There's never a dull moment. Data discovery, what data have you got, where is it? We do all that sort of stuff too. Any more questions? Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you, Rob.
Appreciate it. And thank Matt for the slide work up the back there too.
And that concludes the final session, everyone. So thank you for sticking with us throughout the 2 days. And I think for those of you that are going to drinks, enjoy. Otherwise, have a safe flight or trip home.